G'day and welcome to episode number 3 of Long COVID to Bustleton Ironman. I am Beau Jones and there is still no introduction to this YouTube vlog nor podcast. The podcast has been getting some listens as well, which is great to hear that you guys don't want to see my face, which is understandable. Today's episode, we're going to rip straight in and knock this one out in 15 minutes to keep on track with the rest of the episode. Secondly, thank you for the comments. I'm going to go through those comments and send out a few prizes and upgrade some of the orders that you guys have already purchased, which was amazing to see. So keep commenting. It helps us bump up the algorithm and get some more eyes on this, which in future hopefully will help Bottle.It continue to grow and spread some positive mental health awareness and affirmations into the community, which helps the individual become a better part of the community. So thank you again for all of those. Now, momentum, this episode is on point. This is an episode idea that came to me on Sunday during a long run. Just to check back in on the weight. We knocked that over early. I am 122 kilos down from 124. Now, the fans of the show will know that's 1 kilo up from last week, which is why you should not listen to your scales when you're seeking motivation or inspiration to keep training. Weight fluctuates. I've trained more in the last week than I have in the last 3 months. I'm doing more. I'm eating less. I'm eating better. And if I had all of my hopes pinned on those 3 numbers on the scales, I would throw my toys out of the cot and go down and eat all the bread and all the chips and continue, to have a little pity party. So yeah, there's your first takeaway from the episode. Scales and the numbers on the scales change so much that, as much as it is, I definitely let it pump my tires up when it's on the downward trajectory, but I'm very mindful not to let it disrupt my training, my focus, or, my goals really, because it definitely can, depending on what's going on, it definitely can, not give you the answers you think you're going to see. Now, I have been training the house down. I don't want to skim over the fact that long COVID was an absolute punish. Like I said in episode 1, it was probably 3 months of absolute confusion, frustration. Something that I do so regularly and something that I enjoy, having that option to get out and train, was definitely taken away. We live in a 2-story apartment and I couldn't walk up the stairs to come into the studio without being out of breath and taking some time to calm myself down before hitting record. Walking to work, which is a 1 kilometer walk, was an issue. It was an absolute punish. So I don't want to definitely skim over that fact, and that definitely has built some excitement to the last week of training. I have trained every day, and it's exciting, and I'm being real mindful not to overreach and to do more. But one of the things that has popped up, and especially when you are beginning your journey or when you are commencing training or resuming training, if you've been out for a while, I'm at that sweet spot now where it's been a week and a half, 2 weeks of every day I try to do something to work towards that weight loss goal and work towards that training goal. And it absolutely hurts. There's going to be a heap of influences and a heap of people and that Goggins mentality of no days off, motherfucker, and just all of that preaching that you need to be after it and you need to go for it. And every day, 5 a.m., get up, do something, 2 a days, 3 a days. You need to want it more. That narrative is really, it's great for those guys and it's great for people who can, but I think for the large amount of the population, it's not something you can do when you've got a wife and kids and a full-time job. So it's taken a step back. And if you do attempt to do that, and if you do attempt to overtrain, like I'm finding at the moment, everything hurts. Everything hurts. If you're running for the first time in months or weeks, and the impact going through your body, especially when you are a larger athlete, like I said, 120 kilos bouncing up and down off the pavement for an 8K run, that's not ideal, or not ideal, but it's going to hurt, it's going to jar, it's going to take your body a while to adjust to that. So by no means is it one of those things where long COVID's gone away and I've flipped a switch and I'm back at it and I'm back training, I'm back running. It hurts, and anyone tells you that it's not going to hurt, or it shouldn't hurt, hurt's one thing, injury's a different thing, but it's going to hurt. Your body's going to try to do everything it can in its power to tell you to stop. Your inner voice is going to tell you that your knee hurts, or your chafe is going to show up that places you've never had chafe before. Your body's got this weird way of almost trying to get you to stop. And that's where the real growth comes from, when you can tell that voice to shut up, or when you know that you need to get through that to obviously have change in your life and change in who you are and your body shape and everything else, you need to push through it. And that's why so many people do it. And that's why so many people fall in love with it, because once you start seeing that change and once you start being able to celebrate that change through events like Ironman, you want more, and you just, it keeps you going. So one of the things that jumped into my head when I was running, like I said, I'm big and running's not my strong suit. I'd happily sit on a bike and ride and swim. They're all easy things when you're carrying weight 'cause it's less load through your body. Whereas running, you're aware of every kilo you have on your ankles. And as I was running, I really preached this, and it's something that Bottle.It really preached too. And it's something that's taken me years to get to a point where self-talk becomes what fuels me to continue to go. And your self-talk, when I started, my self-talk was the bully, my high school bully. Like, some of the most hurtful things and some of the most crushing things that I've ever thought about myself have come from me. And I tell myself all the time, you're too big, you're too fat, you're too slow, and you look left and you look right, and you're running with people and they're overtaking you, and you're dropping off the back, and you really can be really hard on yourself, and it really hurts, and your brain and I think you can't distinguish that from being someone else saying it or you saying it. So it hurts all the same, and you run out of motivation, you run out of inspiration, and you go home feeling terrible. And that's when you pick up your chips or you pick up your biscuits, and you just kind of derail all the work you're doing. And the biggest change I've had in my lifestyle is changing that self-talk to talking to myself how I'd talk to somebody else, or how I'd talk to somebody else in my social group or in my training group with the all sorts. Like, there's no way I'd say to them what I'm saying to myself. So I've had to kind of flip that narrative, that if I do hear myself talking to myself like, oh, yep, you shouldn't be here, or yep, that's hurting, or you're too big, I flip that as hard as I can and as quick as I can, because the quicker I can shift that mentality and embrace and find some positive in what I'm doing, your mindset completely changes. And what I used on Sunday was momentum. I was running on a flat 1K, and I found this kind of rhythm. The rhythm wasn't fast. I wasn't setting the water light, but it was a rhythm that I could comfortably hold for the whole kilometre stretch that I was running on. I could turn around and do repeats. And as I'm doing the 1K stretch, and every time I kind of felt like slowing down or taking my foot off, or turning around and going home, the one thing I kept saying was momentum. We had to use a rugby analogy, we had a rugby coach. He's done it right for himself. He's now the coach of the Waratahs, Darren Coleman. We were playing a side, lower grade rugby than the Waratahs, and we're playing a side that had a much larger forward pack than us, and that's Rich, coming from a bloke who's 6'4" and 120 kilos. That the one thing he said before we ran out was, don't let them get momentum, don't let them get started. Once they get a run up, once they get a few runs on the board and they start getting over that advantage line, it's going to keep coming, and it'll keep coming for 80 minutes. So don't let them build momentum. Get up off the line and stop them getting momentum. So as I'm running, I'm like, I'm that opposition forward, and I'm picking up momentum. Every step I take, every 10 meters, every 100 meters that I go over is me getting momentum. So that way, as I'm running, and the further I'm running, I'm having my Garmin's going off every 500 meters. I'm getting my chest out a little bit more, getting my shoulders back, standing a bit more upright, and breathing and smiling, and knowing that, you can't stop me. I'm running, I've got my rhythm, I've got my pace, I'm in my zone, I had the headphones in, and I was doing my work. I was getting stuck into my work. And it's that cool thing that when you start telling yourself that, and once you start backing yourself and you're in your ear and you're like, you're doing good, keep going, you do it. Time flies, and you start actually having some fun with your training, and you pick up momentum. And it's one of those things, you kind of feel better when you do it, and that's what makes it more addictive. You want to do it again the next time. So when the alarm goes off, or when the next run set comes around, you've actually got a little bit of a spring in your step to get out the door and do it again, because you want to hear that good thing, or you want to do that good thing, or you want to do that thing you've been celebrating in your head, rather than going out and doing your thing that you have to do. That's one of the quick things that we want to, flip on the head with Bottle.It, that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to train. You don't have to go for a run. You don't have to, better yourself or do anything like that. You got to want to, like, you want to. So you want to create an environment that you want to go and do your training sessions, and you want to, you want to change. And that comes from making that training and making all that hard work that you have to do to see those results fun and enjoyable. And they're not fun and enjoyable when you're bullying yourself or when you're beating yourself up on Strava because you're not running as fast as the bloke you follow, or, you're not getting those Strava segments that you need to. You need to really park that ego and, really create an environment that you're excited to go and train. You're excited to go and do these things. That's the biggest piece of advice that I think what makes consecutive sessions so easy for myself and that momentum to build is changing those things that you want to actually go and do it. Because if you create that environment that you don't want to do it, you're going to miss the sessions. You're going to have those excuses. And when we posted this question on Instagram, like, how do you get that momentum going again, that if you do, because of weather, because of injury, because of your family, when you miss a few sessions, how do you get that momentum going again? One of our athletes, Lockie Earnshaw, from YouTube fame, he shared his advice was don't put 2 consecutive bad sessions together. Don't string it together. And taken away from that, what I've taken away from that is find your pet sessions. Label your sessions. What are the enjoyable ones? What are the ones you kind of have to get yourself really up for? And kind of, we spoke about last week, trying to plan your training week that you're never doing 2 hard sessions back to back or 2 forced sessions back to back. So, never double run days, or just kind of have something to break up the monotony. You're gonna have to do hard days for change, but there are also the easier days, or the longer, easier sessions that you can kind of put in between to. It's kind of weird that I'm going to use the multi-bet on Sportsbet with the green ticks. Like, you just want to stack up as many green ticks as you can to get towards that change. And yeah, as much as a red tick and, a red cross can stop that momentum, there's no reason that, you can identify the cross and figure out where it is, what day it is, why it happened, like what happened, and then remove that for next week. Like, doesn't mean your whole training block goes out the window because you've missed 1 or 2 sessions. It just means readjust and aim up and go again. Coming back to that, the self-talk. One of the things at the moment, my legs are absolutely killing me. Like I said, they're carrying weight, so I'm changing sessions and changing my plan to accommodate for that. I know my legs are going to hurt. They're carrying all that weight, so I don't stack a run and a ride close together. I'll break it up with a swim, or I'll break it up with a easy zone 2 session on the bike to avoid double loading my legs. And that's when you start running into injuries, and you derail yourself, and you're going to derail yourself, but your ego tells you that no, you've got to do it. You've got that dog in you, you got that Goggins in you. You need to do 2 sessions a day of a run, and you're just going to run yourself into the ground, get injured, and then before you know it, you're back on the lounge. So be smart with that. And one of the things that helps me get through when my the legs do hurt, or I am fatigued or I am sore, is you kind of have to go back to that. During long COVID, all I wanted to do was be sore. All I wanted to do was be tired after a hard day training. And right now I'm in the start of it. I've still got 3 months of sacrifice and training to go, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And you need to embrace that. I'm sore. And Paddy Mack from Running Fame, another one of our amazing athletes, he had the best outlook when he's doing a run. Mind you, this guy runs sub 3-hour marathons for fun. He's done UTMB. He's the front page of City to Surf. He's a good runner. He flips it on its head as hard as like anybody else, like better than anybody else. When it hurts, good. When your legs are hurting you and screaming at you, they're full of lactic and you don't want to push anymore. How lucky are we to be feeling that? How privileged are we to be in a situation where we can get out the door and absolutely thrash our body and benefit from the change of that. Like, just changing those few little words around how we get into it, and how we, when your body tells you to stop, how much that's not a stop. That's just I'm working here. This is where the change is going to come from, and just kind of really working on that. And I think that's the takeaway from today's dribble, in that it's not easy. It's 100% not easy. I'm very excited to be training again. I'm doing something every day, but I'm also not doing things every day that are going to hurt me or delay with injuries. I'm kind of planning smartly, like I said, not having 2 consecutive days of things that are going to bash my body, like listening to my body, knowing when to push, knowing when to rest, and being mindful of that. But the big thing is, we worked on planning last week. We're right into it now, and we've got some momentum going. Identify that momentum and become almost, I say it all the time, I don't like swearing on this podcast anyway, but become unfuckable. Become that so focused on what your goal is and become so determined by the change that you want to see that nothing can derail you. So even if you do have to have 3 days off because of weather or whatever your commitments are, even if you have to change your approach, we're really lucky with the sport of triathlon that there's always something you can be doing. If you can't run, you can swim. If you can't swim, you can ride a bike. And, if you can't do any of those three, you can be walking or you can be stretching or you can be working on your diet. We can always find a way to better ourselves, even if it's nothing to do, even if you're just listening to this as a non-athlete, there's always things we can be doing to become better versions of ourselves. But you've got to want it and you've got to encourage yourself, because no one else is going to encourage you through it. You can have the most supportive people in your life, but they're not with you when you're running in the dark. They're not with you when you're swimming and you've got another 1,500 meters to go. There's no one with you but you. So you need to change the way you talk to yourself. The quicker you change that and the quicker you celebrate it and the quicker you see your setbacks, not as setbacks, but as opportunities to change your plan, change your environment, change your lifestyle, it becomes so much more enjoyable. Also, on this enjoyable, change what you do. Put sessions in each week. Like this morning, I have a Thursday morning guys that I ride with. Probably not the most amazing training session from a performance point of view. Like you look at it and it's a coffee ride, but we ride in zone 3 and we're up and down and there's traffic lights and we talk and we stop for a coffee afterwards, which has only been 40 minutes into a ride. Like there's not much to take out of that, from a performance point of view, but it's something I look forward to each week. So I know when I'm sitting on the exercise bike for 2 hours and just kind of turning the legs over with the headphones in and no one's supporting me, I get to see the benefits of that on a Thursday when I go for a group ride and I can, hold conversation while I ride and I can laugh and I can enjoy cycling and fire up that love for cycling again. So be mindful of the things that pick you up and celebrate the up. So that way when you're in the hard sessions and in the down, you've got things to look forward to and, you've got those little victories. So yeah, like I said, the momentum, I'm up a kilo from last episode, but I'm smiling because I found something else. My fitness is back. I'm back turning and burning. So just change your perspective, change your view. And as always, leave a comment. I'm going to send a few little prizes we've got floating around. I've got a few of these Quire socks that I've got floating in the office. I'll send them out with some comments. Also, Aid Station do have a 10% discount, Beau 10. I've been working through one of their nutrition boxes, which they send out, which is red hot. I'm trying to get it up here without trashing the studio. It's got all these goodies. A little sample pack. They're fast. The delivery's fast. Website's easy to use. And, as much as you might know the things that work when you train, it's always cool to throw a novelty thing in to see what else you might enjoy or like. So Beau 10. Sorry, this one has gone over 15 minutes. I tried my best, but I do love a dribble. Hopefully you love it too. Hopefully this is motivating you to go train and you can continue to follow this journey all the way to Busso. We've got some exciting episodes coming up. We've got some guests coming up. We've also got a very exciting episode about getting off grog, which is I've received a heap of comments about this, and